Most heartfelt greetings and salutations, theydies and gentlethems. I eagerly welcome you to Sturgeons' most premier station, Dusklight Radio. Hosted by yours truly, the incorporeal, incandescent, aesthetic Everett J. Blackwell. Perhaps you know of us Blackwells. We provided a nightmare wrangling service in partnership with the Order of the Moth. You know, those weirdo, nice people who think they can domesticate nightmares. Look, it was a different time. We're not proud of it, alright? The way it was, if you were dealing with a night terror that didn't go away after waking, or perhaps someone from the monster side of Sturgeon crossed the threshold and wouldn't return home, we'd send someone out to deal with it. Usually, they just coax them into a satchel with a piece of blue cheese or some trailing flesh mix, but sometimes they had to fight them in an unarmed combat and establish some dominance. My Auntie Peggy tried that and was 17-0 when she went up against the delightful little nightmare called the Bowel Dispenser. She didn't do so well. I remember our catchphrase, though. Got a repressed memory you need dealing with? Try catching it and putting it in a satchel. It's cheaper than therapy. If you're just joining us, first of all, welcome and do not skip. I promise each of these are unique in their own way. We don't retroactively steal from our past selves and create a paradox to make this show fresh for nothing, you know? Anyway, I'm Dusklight's main and most fabulous half-dead host. My job at this fine radio station is to bring you some of the most twisted, interesting, and downright bizarre tales that I and my wonderful many-legged runners collect from the far corners of Sturgeon and beyond. Some will make you laugh, some will make you cry, and some will go down to the Sturgeons Metropolitan District, even if you're not from here and have no way of getting here, and you'll challenge the Gambling Man. Now, the Gambling Man has a multitude of games, but he enjoys the coin toss the most. It's the easiest one for him to win. When you approach him, you'll say, "Je suis venu parier, mon ami," and he will tip his helmet to you. One toss for the thing you seek most. You'd better not fail, listener. You won't like what happens if the side with the shy man's face shows up on his palm. Not one bit. Always pay your debts to the Gambling Man. It's time to introduce our next story for this triple feature evening. You heard it right, triple feature for your wonderful dedication to this channel. 200 subs in just under 3 days. My heart would be beating fast if it beat at all. It comes to us from artist, writer, voice actress, part-time spirit guide, and elf pit fighter, PennyTailsUp. Why Tails Up? Well, when she knocks out her opponent and, by ritualistic rites, has sway over their fate, she devours them. Tails up. Not the best way to go, but, at least you'll be remembered, I guess. Oh, and, don't ask about the eyes. Just don't. Special thanks must first be given to Mandy Mo for rendering yours truly in the beauteous image you see when you look at our page. Next, Dusklight bows at the altar of Trevor Henderson, the man behind Siren Head, for allowing Dusklight to use some of the images he's captured of various abominations. Our cast today features narrator and janitor TJ Lee, trying to force his way up the corporate ladder through helping on the channel and avoiding grinding against the slimes in the dungeon so he can level up and be a better custodian, it seems. Douche. And of course, lest we forget, some of the music you hear is provided by the Dark Somnium, with gracious thanks. With that, the sun has set and dusk has crawled into the studio once more. Whether you're working, prepping to sleep, or evading the formless void that will one day consume us all, Blackwell is here to soothe your ears and captivate your soul. Now, close your eyes and take a deep breath. The scene has been set and the light is on. It's time to walk towards it. Have you ever had a dream so vivid that you wondered if it actually happened? You probably have, but shook it off because of course it didn't, right? A dream under scrutiny, illuminated by the dawn, is easily dismissed. Yet if you've been where I've been, maybe a part of you wasn't completely convinced. Maybe, in the course of a dream, you wandered a little too far from yourself, from your bed, body, and world. Maybe you've been to the dream district. If you ever find yourself in a place to wonder, ask. He'll tell you. He will be beautiful, friendly, and inviting. He will offer you hospitality, flattery, and gifts. Anything you want. He'll know what you want, somehow. Yet, a part of you will know, deep down, you can't take it. Not unless you're going to stay. But you can't stay, it's a dream. You don't belong there. If you find yourself in the dream district, thank your host and leave. Start walking and don't stop until you find yourself back in the dream you were supposed to be having. Do that and hope he doesn't follow you. Trust me. It started with sweet potato pie. If I had to describe it, I'd tell you it was richer than chocolate, smoother than cream, and sinfully decadent. That description doesn't do it justice. Other words come a little closer, like otherworldly or ambrosia, and I feel pretentious describing anything in such terms, but I still mean them. Suffice to say, I'd never had anything so good, and never would again. The dream started in the middle of a Safeway on Thanksgiving Day. I was on a diet. That part wasn't a dream, but it followed me there. The frustration and cravings that came with diets were hard to shake, even in my dreams. I didn't know I was dreaming, not at first. Pushing an empty cart through a bakery section, I made note of everything I couldn't have. Cookies, cakes, and donuts. No, no, and no. As I steered the cart round every display, I repeated my mantra. No sugar, low carbs. No sugar, low carbs. The words became the whirring of the wheels, quickening with my footsteps when I realized I wasn't alone. Startled, I whirled to see a sales associate standing directly behind me. The name tag pinned to his chest said his name was Moore. Moore smiled, looking far too cheerful for someone working in customer service. He was also surprisingly handsome, with skin clear as crystal, sleek gold hair, and hypnotic emerald eyes. Everything about him reminded me of precious metals and stones. In fact, it was unnerving, like a living embodiment of Photoshop. Beautiful but wrong. Beautiful, wrong, and staring intently at me. It's a trap, I thought. I don't know why I thought that, but I did. I backed away, ready to abandon my cart and flee, yet the impulse didn't make sense, and I second-guessed my instincts. It would be rude to run away from a gentleman who was only doing his job. There were no other customers in the store. Was it any wonder why he was being so attentive? Wait, was I really the only customer here? I looked around, uncomfortable with the sudden realization. Sure enough, it was just me, him, and all the delicious foods I couldn't eat, stacked neatly in every direction. Welcome, Moore bowed in greeting, a strangely formal gesture. There you are. Do you need help finding anything? His voice sent a strange thrill through me, both pleasant and alarming. I shook my head. Wait, what was I doing here? I was trying so hard not to indulge. Why was I torturing myself? Why did I feel nervous and even guilty? Like I'd been caught with my hand in the cookie jar, caught on the verge of cheating on my diet. Not that Moore knew that. The word diet wasn't stamped on my forehead, only on my mind. No, thank you, I said. I'm just browsing. Browsing the baked goods, even knowing I couldn't have them. He looked past me, peering into my empty cart. Clicking his tongue, he glanced back up at me. If you don't mind my recommendation, the sweet potato pies are fresh and perfect for the holiday season. Please let me know if you need help finding anything. He backed off a few feet, but continued to watch me. I'm on a diet. I can't have that, I admitted. But I don't see any diet-friendly options in here, so I'd better go.
You're on a diet?
His jaw quirked, but the smile remained fixed.
There's no need to worry about that.
Annoyed, I gripped the handle of the shopping cart a little tighter. Holidays were the worst. No one wanted to think about dieting, so they'd go out of their way to sabotage me, giving me permission to indulge just because it was a special occasion. I didn't want to hear it. That's not up to you, I said.
You misunderstand,
he said softly.
You're in the dream district. Whatever your worries are, you can leave them until you wake. If you ever do.
What? I looked around. At first, the scene seemed like an ordinary grocery store with glossy cement floors and incandescent yellow lights. Yet the second I questioned it, I could see beyond the bakery, the interior gradually shifting into cobblestone streets under a lavender sky.
Yes, sir. As you can see, you're dreaming. There's no need to count calories or sacrifice your sense of taste. Of course, I have to wonder why a lovely creature such as yourself thinks he needs to be on a diet. Even outside this place, you're beautiful as you are.
No, I wasn't. That was flattery, but I still blushed like an idiot. Of course, now that he said it, it made sense. This was my dream, and now that I knew it, I had nothing to fear. I've always wanted to lucid dream, I said, a wave of giddiness spreading through me. I thanked the man before turning my attention to all the displays with enthusiastic interest. What was it you recommended?
Ah, that would be the sweet potato pie.
He pointed to a table which suddenly appeared in front of me. Presented prettily in a glass display was a single pan of sweet potato pie. A beam of glittering light cast down upon it, like an endorsement from God. Moore stepped closer to the case, opening and looking at me expectantly.
Go on, don't be shy. I know exactly what you need.
He inclined his head, but I never lost sight of his eyes, pale, unwavering emerald.
I admire the willpower it's taken to get you where you are. Isn't it time you rewarded yourself?
In an instant, my hesitation evaporated, giving way to gluttonous desire. I reached into the case, marveling when I felt the coolness of the pan it was housed in. Delight shivered through me, my knees weak with anticipation. The intoxicating aroma wafted towards me like a beckoning hand.
There's nothing like it,
Mole continued on with his sales pitch, as if I wasn't already sold.
You can only get it here.
Why did that feel like a warning? Maybe I shouldn't, I said slowly. Even if this is a dream, it's a slippery slope for me. Dieting, I mean. Why was I explaining myself to him? Whoever he wasn't real, just a manifestation of something. Food cravings? Somehow I didn't think I'd find the answer in a dream dictionary.
Why not?
He asked, tilting his head slightly.
I prepared it just for you. This is everything you want. Everything you've denied yourself. And for what? Certainly not your happiness, or you wouldn't be here. This is your wish.
This wasn't an ordinary dream. Even in that moment, I knew. My senses weren't the clouded, hazy approximations I was accustomed to in other dreams. This was a dream that indulged all my senses. Dread drifted back in, but I shook it off. What was there to fear from a dream?
There's no need to hold back.
My heart began beating loudly. I could hear it, feel the pulsing, disconcerting rhythm of it. I sucked in a staggered breath. My palms were hot, but the dish was cold. I need a fork, I said.
You already have one,
Moore replied. He was right. A plastic fork was already in my hand, though it hadn't been before. I was startled, but when I looked up at Moore, he merely smiled and said,
In a dream, anything you wish is merely a thought away.
I knew it was a dream, but there was still something unnerving in the logic of the place. I couldn't put my finger on why, but something felt wrong. I should sit down.
As you wish.
In a dramatic, sweeping motion, he pulled out a chair for me. It was suddenly there, along with the small round table. I sat down, setting the pie tin in front of me. Pressing the tins of the fork into the soft center, I scooped up a balanced bite. A perfect union of buttery, flaky crust and creamy, sweet potato filling. I will never forget that first bite. Like God forged the flavor of my deepest, darkest desires. The taste of everything I didn't know I wanted. The end-all, be-all of dessert. Of food. Of anything. The velvety dream of sweetness and spices sends a quivering thrill through me that had me moaning for more. Fortunately, there was more. As much as I wanted.
You can only get it here.
I took bites as fast as I could, leaning over the table to shorten the distance between myself and the pie. The fork felt like a pretense, but I didn't lose myself enough to set it down, though the thought crossed my mind. When it was gone, I licked the plate, the fork, the table, my own lips for any stray of crumbs. Then I remembered myself, and felt Moore's eyes upon me. The glinting, green gaze was half-lidded, yet predatory with the sharp curve of his smile. Unsettled and mildly embarrassed, I straightened my back and turned in my chair to face him. If this isn't my dream, why are you here? More was unsettling. Why would I dream up someone who made me uncomfortable in a lucid dream? If my wishes were only a thought away, he'd be gone.
I said you were dreaming. I never said this was your dream.
I laughed at the odd reply, but his expression didn't change. The laughter stopped, sticking in my throat like a stone. I stood up from the table and started to walk. I don't know where I thought I was going, but I was done with Moore and his sweet potato pie. Yet, even with my clear refusal to take further part in this dream, I wanted more. For the first time in a long time, I was satisfied. I left the store, walking down the cobblestone path and merging in that hazy, dreamlike way into the next chapter of sleep. I could feel Moore watching me, a feeling I couldn't shake until I was awake. When I sat up in bed, I knew something was wrong. The haze that filled me wasn't a typical early morning daze. It was heavier, colder, and something else I couldn't quite put my finger on. Sliding out from under the covers, my stomach shuddered with an audible growl. I was hungry. My stomach hadn't been fooled by the dream after all. Was that why I felt off? Instead of racing to the kitchen for breakfast, I forced myself through my morning routine. That strange funk didn't fade, but I didn't have a fever. When I opened the fridge and peered inside, nothing looked appealing to me. If I'm being honest, that wasn't unusual. My diet wasn't exciting. I'd been low carb, no sugar for a good 6 months. I peppered a hard-boiled egg, but despite the firm whites and crumbly yolk, sawdust. It was like eating sawdust in both texture and taste. That didn't make sense. Even if the eggs were spoiled, that wasn't right. They looked okay, even smelled as expected. But the second the egg touched my tongue, it was wrong. All wrong. A second bite confirmed it. Spitting it out and throwing all the eggs away, I rummaged for something else. Nothing sounded good, but I was starving. I tried the salad next, but the results were the same. Sawdust. I choked, coughing the wilted greens into the sink before vomiting. Nothing in the fridge or cupboards was edible. My hunger howled at me to find something, anything. But only one thing sounded good. Sweet potato pie.
You can only get it here.
Moore's voice brought a little color to the room, quickly fading when I realized I'd imagined it. I was awake and alone, but I knew what I needed. Grabbing my car keys, I left the house. Rushing to the Safeway, I scoured the bakery. The pies weren't housed in glass cases or bathed in sparkling pillars of light, but they were still easy to find. The pastries were imperfect, with crusts cracked and crumbling. The filling wasn't the right color either. I didn't matter. I was drooling. I bought them all. I tore into a pie as soon as I got into my car. I couldn't even wait to get home. I didn't have a fork, but that didn't stop me. I used my fingers, scooping up a heaping mouthful and drawing it to my dry, eager mouth. Only to start sobbing into the steering wheel. Like everything else I'd eaten that day. Sawdust.
I know what you need. You know it too.
I needed to sleep. With the words came color and a flash of taste. But it faded as soon as the thought did. After my tears, I threw the pies into the parking lot and took myself back home. Had a dream really destroyed my sense of taste? Would it come back? It was ridiculous. I knew it. But nothing seemed as good as it once was. Not just taste, but colors, textures, and sounds. All seemed lacking in ways I'd never noticed before. I called the doctor and made an appointment, but I knew this wasn't something medicine could fix. By noon, I'd crawled back into bed and prayed into my pillow for sleep to take me back to that place. To that dream. The Dream District. Hunger made it hard to sleep, but when I did...
I knew you'd be back.
More found me, a ray of light in an otherwise dark and colorless dream. The details around us didn't matter, just the warmth of the hand he extended. I took it and followed him from dream to dream until my bare feet touched sun-warmed cobblestone under a cool lavender sky.
I'm hungry,
I whimpered.
I need more. I know. I'm here. I'll give you exactly what you need.
The knowing gleam in his green eyes should have infuriated or alarmed me, but I was too desperate to care. It was already too late for me. Now that I'd tasted that sweet potato pie, I couldn't eat anything else.
Now that you've proven it to yourself, there's no reason for you to leave.
He held something out to me. Without even looking, I knew what it was. Sweet potato pie. The culmination of every craving I'd ever felt, every morsel I'd ever denied myself, and every delectable mouthful. I found myself on all fours, far too eager to bother with utensils or even my hands. I just chewed wildly with abandon, even tearing through the tin with my teeth once I'd eaten my way through that dreamy, creamy filling. Oh, there was something about this pie that satisfied me more than anything else ever had. It wasn't an indulgence, it was a need. When I woke up, I cried. Consciousness felt like a curse. I wanted to go back. The world outside of dreams was overrated, without color or flavor. It gets worse with every dream, a slow spiral into bleak madness. My only respite is dreams, even knowing I'm only dooming myself a little more with every bite. Each day became a race to bedtime, with the window growing shorter and shorter. Consequences be damned. I lost my job, my home, my everything, and I didn't care, because I didn't need any of that. I just needed a place to lay my head, a place to dream. I could do that anywhere.
Why should you ever wake again?
I don't eat anymore. Not when I'm awake. Though I tried to choke down the sawdust knowing I'd die if I didn't, I can't. There's a tarnished silver lining, though. I've lost a lot of weight. I look better than I ever have. I'm a real sleeping beauty, aren't I? I know how wrong it is, I promise I do, but recognizing the trap I've fallen into doesn't save me from it. My fate is sealed, but at least I'm lucid enough to share my cautionary tale. Maybe, in the course of a dream, you'll do what I couldn't, and say no to more, and others like him. I'm going back to bed now, hopefully for the last time. I'm weak, I'm tired, but most of all, I'm hungry. You know, we did have some folks report a strangely suave, attractive, and alluring gentleman in their dreams during our time as nightmare wranglers. I just thought people were dreaming of me, and I rather enjoyed the ego boost. I do get a little bit stronger each day someone thinks of me. Literally. Anyone else hungry for dream pie? Maybe I'll get one of the runners to go get me and Baron von Scalington some. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out some of our other transmissions. We're adding them regularly, and we'd love to have you as part of the Dusklight family by subscribing, hitting the bell of agony. It's just a normal bell, but adding stuff like that is nice. And leave a comment with stories you'd love for my many-legged runners to find. And one last time, listeners, close your eyes and breathe with me. Remember, no matter how bad things are, Dusklight will be here to provide you with some respite. Drink some water or your state-mandated potions. You matter, and you are loved. I'll see you again when the sun sets and dusk enters the station.